Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. Today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market, let's figure out what happened and what we can expect moving forward because things are definitely happening and potentially will continue happening. So a lot of things to talk about, but as usual, if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. It does help a lot. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. And of course, my membership section on YouTube is live. The link is down below for $3 a month, where essentially I give you my intraday thoughts, updates, etc. on Tesla stock as it's moving throughout the day and sometimes other things as well, like we talked about SPY over here. So yeah, if you're interested, link is below, but jumping right into it, Tesla closing the day up, believe it or not, actually, we'll just say almost 0.2%, putting us at about $260.50 per share. So pretty good stuff. Obviously, underperformance compared to the market, right? Naturally, right? The market's up a very respectable amount today. We talked about how the market, it's looking for a bounce pretty soon, right? And the market is looking pretty darn good right now. Like SPY or QQQ right here, MACD's flipping, right? Beautiful green candle you can see here. RSI looks great. SPY. Also pretty good stuff, right? You can see it fell out of the channel over here, the massive channel, but then it went back in. So it's a bit of a potential, or it seems like at least, a false breakdown, which is very bullish and not great for the bears and obviously good for Tesla. So, market's actually unironically not looking too bad right now, right? It's looking pretty darn good, honestly, pretty respectable. So Tesla, of course, also looking pretty okay. Now, the most important thing to understand is the fact that Tesla was down, right? We talked about this yesterday. We had a doji candle, indecision, etc. We said how, that we were getting rejected by the 260 to 263 level. Could be a little bit spooky, right? I was telling my members that I'm a little bit cautious here. I'm optimistically cautious, but I am cautious nonetheless, right? I'm not convinced until we break above 263. And that hasn't happened yet. But we did get a pretty decent drawdown today. We were down over 3%, right? I think at the lowest point of the day. Thankfully, I actually did buy the dip on this, so I'm happy I did. But two things off of that. Number one, we were down because Tesla reduced prices on Model 3 and Model Y a little bit more. Wall Street hates that. Whenever prices are reduced, that impacts margins, that impacts revenue, all that stuff, right? You're making less money per car. Wall Street just really doesn't like that. So obviously Tesla, bit of a painful day today for the most part, right? But of course, beautiful recovery came exactly, almost pinpoint on the 50-day moving average. Beautiful bounce. Told my members about this pretty much as it happened. I can even find the post somewhere. Where was it exactly? It was somewhere, I think over here. Beautiful bounce off the 50-day moving average. I think it was this one, right? Said right here how we're getting close to it. 3% drop and around the 21 EMA and getting close to the 50 daily moving average, around 251 to 250, right? Somewhere around that range. And we got a bounce off of that, right? As expected, which is why I did personally buy the dip on the 50-day once we got to it. And obviously, I'm very happy about that. Now, we are also, of course, this is the second time in a row we had a massive drawdown. This candle was 2 days ago was the other example. Today is another example, right? Where we had a massive gap down, massive pain, massive redness, and then just an absolute euphoria of bulls just coming in there, buying the dip, and just completely reversing the trend on that day, respectively. So, that's a phenomenal sign to see, right? The bears are really fumbling the ball here, right? They had many opportunities to really, honestly, make this chart look pretty ugly. They fell flat on their face, like pretty much 2 times in a row already. So the bulls are really stepping in when it matters, and that's great to see. Again, off of the 50-day moving average, above the 21 EMA, not breaking below those whatsoever. RSI is still looking pretty okay, honestly. I would say pretty neutral. I wouldn't say it's bad or good. Very neutral to me, right? But on the flip side, the MACD, you can see, has finally flipped bullish, right? So that is a great sign to see. So Tesla, in all honesty, guys, ladies and gentlemen, it's not looking bad. I personally still want to see a break above 263. I said for many reasons. It's the resistance level. You can see this white line right here, but it also enters the head of this head and shoulders pattern, which nullifies the pattern, because the one thing I'm still a little bit nervous about is, of course, that head and shoulders pattern that I've talked about many times. You can see it here on the 65-minute chart, right? I am still a little bit anxious about this, but if we break above that, which honestly I think we will, it's looking pretty good, and it's looking like Tesla wants to. But if we do, hopefully on Monday, I think that's going to be a phenomenal sign, and I would be much happier, I guess, with that, more confident, I guess, in the price action moving upwards from here. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it, right? Now, let's think about this, right? Let's say it does happen. Let's say on Monday or Tuesday, or sometime soon, we do break above this, we nullify the head and shoulders pattern. What's next, right? Like, what comes after that? Well, I think what we're going to be seeing, let me zoom out here so we can see the red line. We're going to be retesting this overall. Why do I have this? Well, there's supposed to be another one here, but we're going to be, do I have it on the weekly? I do have it on the weekly, so I'm going to remove this quickly, actually. It looks weird. I don't even know I had that there. Anyway, we are going to be essentially retesting this overall downtrend from all-time highs that we got rejected at. Obviously, all-time highs itself, technically, right? once over here, once over here, once over here. Not too long ago, we also got rejected again, right? Or at least we got close to it, but this was the real one here. Got close to it again. And ideally, what I want to see is, obviously, if we break above 263, I think next level for sure will be to retest this red line once again. I think it'll be somewhere around, you know, high 270s, maybe even 280. Really depends on when we hit it, honestly, but somewhere around the high 270s, honestly, right? And I think that's going to be the next level to go to retest, to, you know, to see what happens there. And you know, I personally think we'll get one more rejection, a very small rejection though. I honestly think it'll be a pretty small rejection. Probably go sideways, you know, potentially just sideways. It doesn't even have to be like a rejection to the downside. It could just be sideways, very light bleeding, maybe nothing too insane, just extremely light rejection as we kind of build up extra momentum to break through something that is extremely important, right? Because if we break through this red line, that downtrend ever since all-time highs, and of course, you can even make an argument that this is, let's go on the weekly, right? You can make an argument this is just an absolutely astronomical bull flag, right? From all the way here, we had a massive rally. So, you know, it looks something like this, right? And then now we're essentially having a massive bull flag, this red line here, and then obviously something like this here, right? And then from there, we break above and we kind of, you know, explode to the north, essentially, if that makes sense, right? That's something that is still very possible. So, you know, that's something that I would definitely consider. And, you know, if we break above this red line, it really puts something like that into motion and really screams just bullishness. So that is probably the most important thing I would overall kind of, you know, look for. So, and that will be the next level I'll be paying attention to if we break above 263. And if we break above that, so the sky's the limit, honestly, at this point. It's going to be a phenomenal run, in my opinion, for the next, like, half a year, honestly, at this point, right? So we'll see. We'll take it one step at a time, of course. But that's kind of the main things I'm looking at as of right now, right? The only real factor that I'm still concerned about is, of course, that head and shoulders pattern. Otherwise, Tesla's looking damn good, man. Let's go to the 65-minute chart here quickly, right? This is the head and shoulders pattern we just talked about. Now, there's two things to consider. Actually, quickly on the daily, right? We also, of course, had a potential retest, right? This yellow line, right? Ever since this earnings, right? Remember, we talked about this many times, how we broke above it, came back to retest it. So far, it seems like it was nothing more than a retest, which is very bullish, successfully, and we so far are rallying from that. So keep that in mind, that's still playing out and that's still looking good. So we talked about that when it was happening, right? Obviously, we're well past that now, but it's still kind of playing out that pattern, if you will. So nonetheless, going to the 65-minute chart, this is the head and shoulders pattern, right? Now, I want to remove these indicators so it's not too cluttered, but there's two things here, right? The blue lines, essentially, if you will. So first, we have this blue line over here. We talked about it, the descending one, right? How it's essentially a descending it's a descending line. It's a downtrend that we are in, that we arguably broke out of not too long ago. We talked about this. You can go back to the videos and check it out. And I said how, you know, we seem to be retesting it, and it was looking a little bit grim, right? This morning was looking a little bit grim because we had we fell back below it, and we actually closed a candle below it. But thankfully, the candle that we did close was also a hammer candle on the 65-minute chart, which of course is a very bullish hammer, or a candle to see, right, to signal the end of in this case, a downtrend, right, or this little fall that we had off of the news of, you know, reducing prices on the Model Y and the Model 3. So, you know, this candle was enough to overpower the fact that we did close a candle below this channel, right, below this downtrend blue line, and we went back above it, which was great to see. So we're still technically looking bullish in that regard. But on top of that, we also have this ascending blue line that ever since this low over here of around 230, right, we've been kind of bouncing off of it several times, and then we did it again today, right? As we went down to about 250, 251, which was that 50-day moving average. We bounced off of that as well. So there's a lot of these levels, little small, minute levels that you want to be paying attention to. That's important to understand, right? But we did bounce off of that. It's looking pretty good. And that's why I personally bought the dip there, because again, 50-day moving average, great chance to potentially bounce right here as well. So it just looked very favorable to me with the stop loss not too far below it. So the risk versus reward, in my opinion, there was phenomenal. So that's why I took it, right? But that's another thing. And we did bounce off of it, and it's also looking pretty darn good. Now, the one thing that's a potentially concerning that could be a red flag is the fact that we are setting up a little bit of a bearish divergence here. I wouldn't put too much weight into it just yet, but it's not something I want to completely ignore and have a bias towards one side. Like I said, I try to be as unbiased as I can when it comes to strictly the stock chart, right? Obviously, the company itself, I'm extremely bullish on, probably a little bit biased, honestly. But when it comes to the stock chart itself, I try being very unbiased. At least I try to. And there's a bit of a bearish divergence, right? You can see as we're essentially making the same highs over here, right? 3 times in a row, pretty much, right? Roughly the same level. We're making lower highs over here on the RSI. So that is, of course, a sign of a bearish divergence, kind of, right? Obviously, a true bearish divergence would be if we're making higher highs while the RSI is making higher or lower highs. That would be the true sign. But this is still kind of there, which is why I'm not putting too much weight into it, because these kind of patterns can be nullified pretty easily. All Tesla needs to do is push up just a few dollars, and it, in theory, could nullify this pattern entirely. We'll see, of course, but something I'm just pointing out just to consider, have in the back of your mind that it is there, and this can potentially become a little bit dangerous, give us a little bit of issues, but nothing too substantial in my opinion, but it is there, so watch out, and we'll of course continue looking at it as the stock is trading and whatnot, and of course my members, I'll share with them throughout the trading day itself, so if you're interested, link is below. But that's kind of the main stuff I'm looking at, right? The final thing to look at is of course going to be options, and of course the weekly chart as well, so we'll take a look at those really quickly after this. But options flow, a little bit different than what I saw, actually very different. What the hell? I just posted an options flow chart like not that long ago over here, which was only like 19, okay, it was not 19, it was a bit less, 32 minutes ago. This is what it looked like 32 minutes ago. And now it looks like this, very strange. But I guess a lot of people are taking profits towards the end of the day. Or the week rather, but massive bullish option right here that just came in. I think it literally just came in like at the very end of the day, because I didn't see this and I just looked at this like 20 minutes ago. So it looks like a massive options flow came in, a massive call from a bull, pretty much 2 million in premium, 270 calls expiring next week October, next week Friday, right? I believe, yes, next week Friday. So it looks like a whale stepping in, so that's pretty good to see. So probably some bullishness coming into next week as well. Probably get a bit of a rally, and if we do, and this actually holds true, we'll break above 263, and my goodness, it's going to look darn good. So yeah, it's looking good. I'm not gonna lie, guys, it's looking pretty good. Obviously, still a couple of little things, little hurdles that we want to get above, but all in all, it's looking good. It's looking very promising, right? The weekly chart also looking promising. Great volume, not great volume, respectable, normal, average volume today, on this week rather, right? Candle's looking pretty okay. We're still getting that slight rejection at that level that I'm still a little bit, uneasy about, but still overall a very nice, healthy looking candle. Both in control. And it's, I don't know, man, it looks like Tesla wants to break through. It really does. It looks like it wants to break through. So I'm feeling optimistic. I really am. Cautiously optimistic, but optimistic nonetheless. But either way, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button, especially if you found these videos helpful and whatnot. But all in all, thanks for watching. I'll see you on Monday. Peace.